So you've decided to change your motor mounts, or you wonder, should I change my motor mounts? So the first thing you want to do is crawl under your coach and have a look at the bottom bushing. If you can turn it by hand like this, then it's highly likely that your motor mounts need to be replaced. Now you'll notice this washer is tight, or this big metal donut. That's because inside here there's a piece of metal, and that's what this is clamping on. And the fact that this is loose, and you can see it's actually quite loose in this case, that's because the engine has compressed this upper washer rubber piece, and that's allowing it to sink down a little farther, and you're getting slop down here. This is a lot. This wasn't as bad, but I've taken it off a couple of times, and so it definitely makes it worse. And but now, it really does need to be replaced, and you'll see in the subsequent sections of this video that replacing this will tighten it right up. It's not particularly hard to change, but you do need to be careful. You need to make sure you've got both a way to jack up the engine and a backup, because when you take this bracket off, and my recommendation is that you take this bracket off the wall, not this piece off the motor, the engine won't be supported, and the engine does weigh, in this case, about 3,000 pounds, with the transmission maybe a little more. And so you want to make sure you have both a jack and a backup support while you're in here working on it. But it is really just as simple as taking this bolt out, taking this bracket off, and replacing that part. So let's get into it.
So the first thing we're going to do here is remove the big bolt. That's a 28mm socket on the top and bottom. That bolt just simply pulls out. So at this point, the engine is still not jacked up, and it's really not required. You can take that bolt out if you want to inspect it. The engine's sitting on the upper mount, and so that really won't be a problem. At this point, once you get it out of there, one of the things you'll notice is just how much softer the new one is than the old one. You can feel it in your hands, and you can tell that it is, in fact, quite a bit softer. Okay, so here we're going to jack up the engine. You want to do this really slowly and you don't really want to jack up the engine any more than you have to. So just jack it up enough to take the weight off that washer. Make sure you put in your backups, and then you go ahead and remove the 4 bolts on the backside that hold the bracket in, and tilt the bracket out. So while I'm finishing taking this off, I'll talk a little bit about putting it back. One of the things you don't want to do, which you'll see me do in the video here coming up, is completely retighten these bolts. There's quite a bit of slop in the frame rail, and what ended up happening to me is I couldn't convince myself I had the bushing realigned to the engine, so I ended up putting it back twice. So you'll see me here torque the bolts. What you really want to do is go ahead and tighten that big washer and the big vertical bolt, this one here. Tighten that up a little bit first, and just get everything on the wall approximately kind of a little more than finger tight, so the bracket's not moving around, and then let that big bolt tighten everything up. That's going to be a lot better. Here you can see an old one and a new one. The old one's on the right and the new one's on the left, and you can see how much compression the old one took over time. It really, 20 years of the engine sitting on it really just squished it quite a bit, so it definitely needed to be replaced.